Today we are talking about the TEPPEN meta, and you're gonna want to stick around to see why exactly Chun-Li needs to get out of here. So first, as always, we're using TEPPEN top decks, starting with the color pie. It's looking pretty good so far, right? Black's taken up a large majority of the meta, green is not close behind, and purple and red are really struggling. Red is really struggling. Purple is a little bit on the low end, but it still has one of the top decks, so it's kind of like a balance there. Speaking of decks, our most popular deck this month is the Spare Whale and Perish. You can see why this deck is so popular. I mean, it's got 4 cost units primarily, so you're dodging some destruction that's 3 cost or less. You're dodging some destruction that's 5 cost or more. It's right in the sweet spot. It's got so many powerful unleash effects that you can just bring back over and over with the hero art. We're talking Oichi to gain life for intense comebacks. We're talking the flying dude whose name I can't remember for just 7 damage to your opponent's unit. It's crazy. Deck has a lot of comeback potential. And it's pretty stable, so that's why people like it so much. Our second most popular deck is also black. It's going to be Change Form. Now this deck is very popular. I'm not convinced on its power level, but it is a very straightforward strategy. You play faith units, you get them buffed, you get Change Form to get them buffed, and you just slowly build up to these really big units that your opponent's going to have a hard time dealing with. Our third deck is going to be Breakaway. Now this deck is super solid, probably the control deck of the format alongside the Spare Whale and Perish. You're using attack downs to reduce your opponent's attack. Make sure you take less damage, but also in combination with cards like Dr. Psycho. That guy's a madman. You're removing your opponent's units, potentially clearing your opponent's whole field, just getting that stability there, and then you're using Breakaway to just mash these memory effects, mash unleash effects over and over again to just get insane value. So you're waiting up so you get at least 4 memory, ideally till you get 7, and then you start going crazy with Breakaway. The late game, the amount of value this deck can pump out just like that is brutal. So you gotta get in there quickly if you're hoping to beat this deck. And the fourth deck, the Terror, the X-Terror Heart Tank. Now this deck has 2 different versions. You have the more normal version, the coordination version, which is very solid. It's just a very stable deck and can pump out fields really fast. And you've also got Big Green, everyone's favorite deck ever, just utilizing Gator, dominating the early with just one big unit that you just can't kill. You have to kill that unit. If you can't do it, you're gonna have a bad time. So Heart Tank kind of has 2 different decks going on for it, and they're both absolutely fantastic. Next, let's take a look at how the meta has progressed throughout this month. Now, in the beginning, the Spare Whale and Perish was the queen. You know, everyone's like, oh, I gotta try out this Unleash deck. But in more recent data, Despair Whale and Perish is kind of dropping, the stock is dropping, and we've got Change Form. We've got Raging Demon, in fact, and Heart Tank, and those 3 decks are kind of on the come up. You can see Raging Demon was actually our 5th most popular deck this month so far, and you can only expect that to go up, especially with potential nerfs incoming. So it's time to discuss the elephant in the room, or should I say, the gator in the room. Alligator Big Green. This deck, people really dislike this deck. It needs to go, gung-ho. It needs to go. We want to see the Gator be nerfed. People are tired of this deck. It's not that fun to play. It's not that fun to play against. You know, I said it a while ago, this deck is big resonate, but for green, okay? It's not that fun. And I think one of the things that makes these decks so difficult to notice is that you really have to have, you know, like an injection into the bloodstream of the community, because as you saw, there's 2 popular Heart Tank decks. And let me tell you that Big Green is probably not the more popular one. People don't really like playing it. People don't really like playing against it, which means it's going to be much lower in popularity. So you're going to see this deck, you know, people aren't really using Gator. People aren't really like playing this version of Heart Tank much if you look into the data. But the fact is that people really dislike this deck. We've got streamers like Yali who will just stream until they see the Big Green and then they're like, all right, I'm out of here. So I think it's really important to kind of have that connection to the community and not just look at the data to understand this deck is unfun. People want it gone. It took a long time for Big Resonate to finally get hit enough with the halt changes so that it was not, okay, it can still kind of work, but it's not quite as popular deck. It's not as strong of a deck. And so that even drops its popularity even more, that you don't even see it anymore. And I think that's a good thing. And I think we need to see some Gator changes because people are tired of the Gator. People are tired. So I'm hoping to see that in the balance changes. And that is the first thing we got to talk about nerfs. The second thing, of course, is Chun-Li. Come on, it was in the thumbnail. You know Chun-Li got to go. Now, as a Chun-Li abuser myself, it feels kind of bad. Like, this card is just so good. If you saw the latest video before this, I play the red-green Devil Breaker version, and like the ability to use Devil Breaker on Chun-Li to do like insane damage, just board wipe a field is crazy. Like, they got rid of Kasuga because it was a 1-8 combo agility, and then they just added in a new combo agility. It's kind of like, what's going on here? What's going on here? So this card, combo agility, we gotta separate them, okay? They can't be on the same unit. At least make it a little bit more difficult to have this powerhouse going. A lot of games come down to who gets more Chun-Lis, who can activate more Chun-Lis, especially in the mirror match, especially even in the mono green version, like with Heart Tank or whatever, that they still use Chun-Li. Now let's dive into the data a little bit, right? Because every green deck, except for Big Green, is using Chun-Li. Now, you know it's a problem if you have to use Chun-Li in all the decks. Even different styles of deck, like Hey Nico, which is more of like a control stall deck, I'm pretty sure they're using Chun-Li as well. So this is why, although Black has the majority share of the meta with decks like Despair, Will, and Perish and Change Form, Chun-Li is the actual problem because basically all of the 30% of green is from Chun-Li. So Chun-Li, along with the Gator, I hope we get some changes to them. And how is it going to look after that? Hopefully, with the changes to those, red can have a little bit more shine, and green tends to be pretty strong against red, especially with Chun-Li coming with a shield already built in. It's really hard for red to deal with green's big boards, so that might give them a chance to come back in a little bit and help deal with these decks like Breakaway and Despair, Will, and Perish that red, tends to have a little bit of a better time than against green. So that's my predictions for the next meta. I think that green is going to get heavily nerfed, and I think that that's going to allow red a little bit more space, and hopefully we'll see the color pie morph a little bit into a more even distribution, although I suspect black will remain mostly dominant. Thanks for getting this far in the video. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something from it. I hope you got something out of it. And let me know in the comments what you guys would like nerfed alongside Gator and alongside Chun-Li, or what you'd like to see buffed. As we always do, keep on learning, having some fun with me, and I'll see you around. Peace.